Leisure Suit Larry. Love for Sale. The seventh Leisure Suit Larry game, numbered. Technically, it's the sixth game released. And it's, until 2018, it was the last in the series to feature the protagonist Larry Laffer. I won't be playing the Lovage games, at least not until I can double check something. But this follows up. This was released in 1996. I remember getting it and putting it on my computer and had to do some finagling to get to work. This was interesting to say the least. It had the usual humor and then some. You see, the game was released, like I said, 1996. Now it is set basically hours after Leisure Suit Larry 6 ended. And it was using a new format that they were working on adopting with some of the Sierra games prior to the attempts to go 3D. You see, Larry, well, starts off with Larry and Shamira having a nice, passionate night. And of course, with Larry's prowess, convinces Shamra that she prefers money instead of uh, what she was pursuing at the end of 6. And so she basically leaves him in the penthouse after shoving a cigarette in his mouth, which he spits out, and then causes a fire to take part in the penthouse. So Larry must now escape. Of course, in the process of escaping and jumping into the fireman's net, only to bounce all around creation and land on a cactus. And of course, his biggest concern is a paper cut. I hate paper cuts. Well, somehow, still on the balcony was a ticket for a cruise. Which, after he picks it up and gives himself a paper cut, he shoves it in the only thing that he's wearing, and get a paper cut. Well, Larry ends up surviving the jump with the customary thing we all yell when trying to get out of a dangerous situation. Oh, shit. And now Larry has ended up on the cruise ship, on the PMS Bouncy. The ship captain, Captain Thigh. And so Larry must now, well, he gets the typical room for someone like him. 0. Which you open the door, go down long steps, and you're basically in a makeshift room in the engine room or something. So Larry is now at sail. Now, at points in this game, you see this little icon popping up in the corner. Cyber Sniff 3000. Or 2000. One of the two. This was a scratch and sniff card that came with the game that would When it popped up, you were supposed to scratch that square and have an experience of what you would be smelling in that area. Yeah. Some were rather pleasant, some were rather offensive. Now, as Larry is on this ship, he then eventually will head up to the proud little seaman's room, or lounge, in which we learn about the big objective in this game for scoring, or, well, in part of the story. You see, Captain Thigh has a competition for everybody on the ship, or all the men on the ship. And of course, not many, hardly any children on the ship, if any. Don't ask me how they. You mean it's a mixed joke sometimes. You see, Captain Thigh has the Thighs Man Trophy. Thighs Man contest. Each contestant is given 6 categories and one joke category, chastity, to compete in. And throughout the game, you will hear various success stories of winners. Some that would make you say, "How?" or "Ow!" And one woman apparently wins the nude accordion playing contest. Congratulations can be offered in the hospital area. Well, to win the trophy, of course, you must achieve the best score in all competitions. Larry gets the following: lovemaking, best dressed, bowling, horseshoes, cooking, and let's see, what was that other one? Craps. Now, this is to be done in the typical way. Larry has to find ways to beat all of these games because, let's face it, he's not all that skilled. I mean, let's face it, he throws the horseshoe and it goes splashing into the ocean. Bowling, he gets gutter balls. If he's lucky to even hit a pin. And so Larry must now find ways to cheat each game. Now, of course, also in this game, they include little Easter eggs, which, if you find all 7 of the Easter eggs, you actually get an Easter egg at the end of the game. Yeah. Well, not just the Easter eggs. You also have to find, because Owl has a weird sense of humor, he incorporates Where's Waldo into it. Except it's not Waldo, it's Dildo. And of course, everything you select, you got to pick like from a menu for smaller menu. So, Larry must do his best, and he will meet several women aboard the ship whose names are somewhat takes on famous celebrities. When he goes to the clothing optional, not clothing optional, clothing not optional swimming pool, he meets Drew Barrymore, who was really coming into stardom at the time. No, actually, no. I'm sorry, my mistake. She was just coming back into stardom at the time. Who is an expert on an actual real life figure, Anton Fokker. That was the genius who developed a way to synchronize machine guns mounted on airplanes to not cut through the damn propeller blades. You have Jamie Lee Curtis, obviously a pun on Jamie Lee Curtis, who is a fashion designer, who has a rivalry with someone whose name sounds like Calvin Klein. We run into Why Don't Ya and Naomi Jugs. Obviously parody of Winona and Naomi Judd, famous mother-daughter country duo. Of course, the Jugs, you can't tell which one's the mother and which one's the daughter. They look the same age. You also have Demi Moore, obviously a pun on Demi Moore, who is a bit of a shyster, a shyster who hangs around the casino looking for the big winners. And, of course, you have Annette Boning. Closest I could figure, she was supposed to be a parody maybe of Annette Funicello or something like that. I can't be certain on that one. However, she is married to the major stockholder of the company that of a shipping company. And if you ever seen stuff like Are You Being Served, uh, Old Man Boning's got about the same got the same drive for women that young Mr. Grace used to have. So Larry's also trying to woo these women and in turn figure ways of cheating his way through the game or through the competitions. I mean, each one has something or can help in some way in getting your end goal. So even if Larry doesn't succeed with these women, he will get it gets him closer to the end goal. Although in some cases he does manage to somewhat succeed with the ladies. Usually, after an encounter with the ladies, he is usually seen trying to sneak back to his cabin without being seen. Each time, it results in a funny encounter. But succeeding with certain people in that will lead to other encounters. And these are made all the more hilarious when you include some of the talent and some of the names of some of these characters. And some of the things you come across in this game. I mean, in order to succeed in the love-making competition, where Larry must demonstrate his skills with the Love Master 2000, Larry must find a way to, well, when he first tries the machine, he comes up with a whopping 2. Of course, turning the prudish librarian into a sex vixen, she ends up winning him that competition. I'm not telling you how to do it. After his encounter with the jugs, which takes getting by the bartender, Johnson, he has to set things up. And if he gets one of their belts, he can use that to guarantee a win on horseshoes. If he wants to win on craps, he's got to discreetly shave some dice. Because if someone were to, quote, shave the dice, they're always going to land a certain way. And a cheater could rack up some money, only to get preyed on by Doomy, where you must play a game of... you got to play a game of Strip Liar's Dice. I'm actually familiar with the game because it was in another game I had. The rules of Liar's Dice work like this. Each round, although there's a variation on this one, you roll the dice, and then you bid how many of which number you have. Apparently ones are wild. So, if you count, say you rolled among your dice is 3 5s and a 1, that counts as 4. But you're not bidding on how many you have, you're betting on how many you both have. Now, of course, to succeed at it, foolproof success, you basically have to put in a little cheat that allows you to see her dice. Of course, win or lose, you obviously have to, Larry still gets roofied. Orgasmic powder, as it's called. Of course, now you can always go back to Doomy's room after that and get that powder because you're going to need it later. But not for using on one of the ladies. No, no. Now, of course, you play through the game and winning each competition. Best dressed man, hey, he's just got to convince Jamie to make the leisure suit fashionable again. It's not hard to do in that game. Don't you know? Bowling. Well, for that you gotta learn about the ship's one worker, Peggy. She says she suffers from So let's see. She has toilet syndrome or Tourette syndrome. As she puts it, she has a potty mouth. See, Peggy has a peg leg, which she can actually replace with anything she needs to work with, making her one handy person on the ship. Of course, she's doing all the work about everybody because you can never find the cabin boy. Exquisite. That's another common joke where you can't pronounce his name. Nobody knows how to pronounce it, so it just comes out as like rarely used letters on the keyboard starting with X. Exquisite Watts, Whoosy Watts, he's a visit. Who wants to get a ID to sneak into to get into America? Anyhow, not sure why, but that was the 90s. But as the game progress, as things progress, Larry's working he has to work his way to getting everything he needs to succeed in the competitions. For the bowling competition, it's finding out how Peggy ended up having a peg leg. And if you're wondering why her name is Peggy, it's because her mother named her Margaret. She says that too, if you bring that up. But you have everything in this. I mean, winning these competitions, to win at the cooking competition, you need to make a Venezuelan beaver quiche, beaver cheese quiche. So all you have to do is find Venezuelan beavers, which is reminiscent of the old cartoon thing of how bowling pins are made. That kind of thing. Then, of course, getting everything you need to make the cheese and then make it into a beaver quiche. But you gotta give it that little extra zest, or the judges won't want it. That's the catch. I mean, pretty much every competition there's a fix for. Horseshoes, craps, everything. And of course, Larry will want to try and get with Annette after being mistaken about a blind dessert tasting event. But of course, she is propositioning Larry. She wants Larry to off the old geezer so she can collect on the insurance money and, of course, not take the fall. She was your typical gold digger. Except she chose a guy, an old man, who had one hell of a bit of virility. Of course, in the confusion, while Larry thinks he was going to get to score with her, well, when he thinks he's getting into bed with her, he's actually getting into bed with him. And gives the man a heart attack through apparent pleasure. Of course, when trying to convince, because Larry's afraid she thinks he's gay and not into her, Larry is, of course, trying to prove that he is. Of course, not realizing he actually did what she wanted him to do, but on the early side. I mean, she wanted him to kill the man, but she wasn't ready for it yet. She was trying to do the old, seduce and do this for me thing. Of course, as repayment, she gives him stocks, and then, having proven that he's won the competition, he gets to spend the week with the captain, especially after presenting the stocks, showing that she could now be captain of an oil cruiser or an oil tanker. And of course, having won that, you get the typical celebrate, good times, come on, that kind of shit. The ship is then abducted by aliens, which would have been Larry 8. I mean, you even saw a preliminary 3D Larry figure in the game when you are doing the best dressed man competition. But it was your typical Larry romp. It's funny, it's hilarious, and again, the voice acting really sells it, especially with the various characters in it. I mean, if you know anything about a Larry game, that's all the characters are parodies of themselves too. I mean, you got the purser, Peter the purser, who's your stereotypical gay guy in the game. And so basically, sorry, I had a mind. You have all the humor. Johnson looks like your typical a greaser. You got your jock Dave, who's the one in charge of the swimsuit for the clothing optional beach. Yeah, you can wear a swimsuit to it. I forgot about that. You have Peggy. I swear she looks like she's dressed like a pirate. She is foul mouthed, which they bleep out, even though this is a Larry game. That's how foul mouthed she was. She has her own quips, and you can have some humorous moments, especially with her. I mean, they got Neil Ross as the narrator again, so if you'd say, look at Peggy's breast, it's like, you actually hear, Al, I can't read this. I got a reputation as a representative of this, and this. And you hear Al Lowe and the others laughing in the background because it's funny. Neil's reaction. Or if you select pickup line with Peggy, Larry goes, no. You run across Ken again, although this time he's now known as Rod. And he's been showing up, and where he's trying to make balloon animals, but they all look very phallic. You even, if you look at go up to the captain's quarters and where you have the scoreboard, so you can see like how well everybody's doing in each competition. If you knock on the door, you get a picture of Al Lowell, as he is the previous competition winner. Of course, when he gets brought out when Larry has won, obviously exhausted in need of medical attention. And if you pay close attention, you can see references to various cartoon characters at the clothing optional area. And if you want to attend the craps table, you will have to, of course, Get rid of various James Bonds. Oh, and of course, you also, if you go, I mean, the judges of the chef are parodies of famous chefs. Julia Child, some others. I think one of them is supposed to be the Galpin Gourmet. Oh, and even at the ship's restaurant, the Heave and Ho, you run across Wang, Chinese man with Irish accent. His parents were Buddhist missionaries that went to Ireland. So he has an Irish accent, but he fakes having a Chinese accent because he's Chinese. If that's not the epitome of craziness in this game. But it's probably one of the better titles. And it's a shame that Sierra sort of shuttered at that time, after this was made and all that. Because we never got Larry 8, which was either going to be named Larry Explores Uranus or Lust in Space. Of course, if we go by the later games, the Lovage games, Larry somehow does manage to get back to Earth. We don't know how. Or if you look at the title Leisure Suit Larry, Wet Dreams Don't Dry, he somehow managed to maybe he disappeared and everything was a dream. Who knows? I'm sure we'll find out in time. But this is definitely a fun game. It looks a lot better than its predecessors in the looks department. Full voice acting, great game. Definitely a play. Something to play. You'll laugh. It's a product of its times. Yes, the humor is of its times, too. I mean, let's face it, you got a robotic Bill Clinton telling jokes. But it's worth it. I'd say I say get it and play it and enjoy it. And that's all I'm going to say about Leisure Suit Larry Love for Sale. Hope you enjoyed me going on about it, and take care and have fun all. Bye.